Hello friends, I'm going to share with you a tutorial for how to make this mermaid crown. This crown I made recently, this week actually, and I recorded the process, but I made a version of this crown about 12 years ago. And I absolutely love it, and it is still intact. In fact, here she is. So this is the original crown I made 12 years ago. It's honestly it's gotten me through so many cool mermaid events. I absolutely love it. And the cool part is it's super inexpensive to make. This is made out of a cheap plastic crown. Now, the one I'm wearing is not as heavy duty as this because it was really hard to find this heavy plastic. They make them much cheaper now, unfortunately. So this one is a little bit lighter weight and a little thinner. As you can see, I didn't have the full base to go all the way around, so I really had to, work with what I had and layer hot glue. But here's some of the details on it. I just did my skincare routine, which is why my face is super shiny, but it's gonna look fabulous tomorrow. So let me show you what you need to do this and get the process. So you're gonna wanna get yourself some cheap plastic crowns. You're gonna need hot glue, E6000 and B7000 for the finer details. You're gonna wanna have a big bucket of shells. The most important shells, in my opinion, are gonna be these flat shells because that's kind of the base of your crown. And then whatever shells you like at that point, just remember the bigger they are, the more dense they are, the heavier your crown. You can either buy loose beads or go to thrift stores or estate sales and buy bulk jewelry. I have tons and tons of bulk jewelry for this purpose. I also bought these cool little charms and pendants on Amazon. I have flat back pearls that I really enjoy using, and then I also busted out the flat back gemstones as well. I'm not sure that we will do a lot of these, but I like to use those to fill some of the gaps. Same thing, these are just all the same size, and the other container are just various sizes. Before you put your crown together, you're going to want to just get a piece of paper and draw out the shape of the crown. Just trace it, doesn't need to be perfect. This is just going to help you pre-plan where your shells are going to go. Then just put that aside. And then from there, you can go ahead and put the crown back together. I do actually recommend taking the gemstones off before you snap it onto the headband. You don't have to. I did both ways, and it was easier to take the gems off when it was flat. The gems are kind of a pain in the butt. If they're just hot glued on, you can try to warm them to get them off, but just get a nice sharp tool and pop them off. As you can see, I had to get pretty heavy duty materials to get some of those off. And you can leave them on, it just makes a smoother surface to glue things on. Once you snap that headband on, you are going to want to measure it on your head because you're going to want to glue the headband. As you can see, the headband and the crown actually move, so it's adjustable. I don't want it to be moving because the more it moves, the more likely it is your hot glue is going to pop off once it's fully dried. So adjust it to the size of your head and hot glue it down. Then use that piece of paper, and this is the point at which I would recommend that you go ahead and start designing the shells. This honestly probably took the longest because I couldn't design what I wanted to do. So here you're gonna just block it out as best you can. The one thing I will tell you is remember your layering. So the bottom layer should be flat to the crown, and then from there you can build up. And it's also going to leave a nice little gap behind the front shell to put all these other little shells to give it that nice pointy look. Get all your glues out and ready, and let's start putting the shells on the crown. Now with your little blocked out shells, you're going to want to do the bottom layer first. So those flat shells, start getting ready to stick them on your crown. I highly recommend just kind of laying them out first because you want to be 100% sure that you're gluing them on in the right spot. You'd hate to get to the middle and have a big gap because you didn't measure it out well. I'm doing E6000 in the middle and then hot glue on the edges and outside so that I get an immediate bond, and then the E6000 is going to create a more secure bond after it has time to cure. But this just allows me to continue to work and not have to wait for each layer of E6000 and shells to dry. I do recommend overlapping the shells as you can, because again, you're layering, you're building your base. So these were layered. And then before you do that final shell in the middle, if you're planning to do what I did to add some points to the crown with shells, you're going to want to throw those pointed shells down first before you put your final shell in the front. And do the same thing. You're going to do the E6000, gloop it on there, and then you're going to want to do the hot glue around the edges to get it to dry quickly and stay in place. This allows the E6000 time to cure as well. And same thing, it is messy. Fair warning, it's very, very, very messy. I recommend getting glue sticks that don't use the hottest setting on your glue gun, because it is going to get on your fingers when you're doing it this way. The goal is to cover up all of the plastic on the crown. So if you have plastic showing, it's not a big deal. At the end, we're going to go through and hide those little bits and pieces of the plastic with other stuff. But I highly recommend keeping that in mind as you're gluing the shells on. The other thing I do want to suggest is keeping, as I had said earlier in the video, getting jewelry pieces, and they don't need to be complete. Broken jewelry is perfect. And usually if you go to estate sales or thrift shops, they usually have someone who sorts their jewelry and keeps big bags of broken jewelry. And that's where I would get all of your little bits and pieces from, because it's perfect for stuff like this. Broken pendants, single earrings, you just break off the pieces you don't need and you can use them for this. So now I'm doing the starfish shells. Those are the final layer of shells for me. As you can see, we're doing the same thing, E6000 in the middle, hot glue on the ends just to get it to stay. And then these big shells, again, keep in mind, the bigger they are, the more they stick out. So I tried to swap them out for the less bulky shells, but I love those weird blue ones, so I couldn't do it without putting them in. Now, from here, you're going to want to just give everything a nice pass over. Make sure nothing's too wiggly, moving around. Pull some of the chunks of hot glue out if you can, just so that you're not continuing to layer onto it and get things stuck to the hot glue chunks that you don't want to see. Now we're going to move on. This part is the easiest part. I think we got through the hard part. Now we're going to add some of that pretty detail in. This is a pearl necklace that I found at a thrift shop and kind of broke apart. I'm using that to hide the bottom layer of the shells so that you don't see the hot glue. You don't have to do this, but I highly recommend it because it's going to hide the layers of the shells, so you can't see how many shells are layered down there. And you could use anything really. Loose pearls will work just fine. And if you're doing a necklace, just make sure you do stick each pearl down so that it doesn't move around before you cut the necklace up, so that your pearls don't go rolling everywhere. Then you want to take some of the loose pearls, and this is where you're going to hide as much of the silver from the crown that's still showing, or plastic pieces that are still showing, or if you have big chunks of hot glue that are showing that you're not happy with, you can cover up with the shells. This is the more fun part. You take those broken pieces of jewelry and stick them on wherever you see fit. I used a broken brooch and some cute little key charms and a bunch of my flat back pearls to add additional detail to the design. And you can get as crazy detailed as you want with this. Once I got through layering everything and putting the finer details on, I decided I wanted to add some drama to the piece. So I did end up getting some chain to add some dangly chain to the bottom. I wanted it to kind of lay on my forehead. I just felt like I wanted to make it a little different from the original design. So I have a little box of broken necklaces and chain bits that I've been saving, and I tried out a few, and I ended up deciding on 2 different chains. I did this heavier chain to make 2 drape over my forehead, and then I found a lighter chain that I used to do something in the middle with another broken brooch. When you're doing this, you have to really make sure you're measuring before you cut them, obviously, and you're gonna have to try this on a few times. I ended up lightly gluing some of these down with the intent to pull the glue off and adjust as needed. So I stuck it on there, made sure that the chain was draped on my face the way I wanted it to before I really jammed it in there and stuck the hot glue in between the pearls. And I jammed the chain in between the pearls on the bottom and then wrapped the chain around the outside pearls and really stuck it in there. I didn't want it to go anywhere. And as you can see, that's me making sure that both sides are equal. They lay exactly the same on my face. And then I did a center chain as well. I did not record that process though. I just added that on as a last minute detail, but you'll see it in the final product when you see the full headpiece. I also did decide to add a little bit more sparkle to it, so I went through with some flat back gems and started sticking those on wherever I thought they would look pretty. This is one of those projects where you can just keep adding as you go, so it can become a little too much if you're not careful, but I feel like with mermaids, more is more. So this is the end result. I am super proud of it. I love it. I cannot wait to wear it. Ultimately, just make sure the glue is cleaned off, your shells are firmly placed, and have fun with this. I cannot wait to see what everybody comes up with. Be sure to share it with me, and if you have any questions, give me a shout. Thank you, and enjoy.